Does your farm have a mission statement? Here on Dusty Ridge Farms, we know what our mission statement is. If you're unfamiliar with a mission statement is something that a business uses to help them make decisions. In our case, we have a farm, so it helps us make decisions on what sort of animals we would like, what breed, what genetics we want, how we want to raise those animals, how we want to make money off of those animals, and all different questions in between. So today I'm going to explain to you what ours is, how you should write one, what you should use it for, and I encourage you, if you're interested in farming, please subscribe to my channel, as I have all sorts of information showing you how to get started, especially with regenerative agriculture and rotational grazing. I believe those are the preferred methods to raising animals in a healthy, natural way. So here on Dusty Ridge Farms, our mission statement is that we want to raise happy, healthy animals in the most natural way possible while using their natural behaviors to our advantage on our farm. And also, the end result will produce healthy, local meat for our community and our family. So we use this statement, paragraph, however you want to say it, as a tool. So whenever we make decisions, like did we want to be grass-fed or grain-fed? Well, from our research, grass-fed seems more natural because that's what cows like to do. As you can see here behind me, they're loving their grass. It seems healthier. All the research that we have, the cows were designed to live on grass. That's, they're very close to relatives to buffalo, deer, those sorts of things that live on grass, and they produce less fat when they're doing that. Yes, I know some of you may think that that means they have less flavor, but to me, the grass-fed has a delicious flavor and it is a leaner meat. So when you compare what we raise, when you cook something, cook a pound of our ground beef versus cooking a pound of ground beef you get at the grocery store, and you see all of the grease and things that come off of that, and just the texture of the meat versus what we're raising as the grass-fed beef here, there's no comparison. You can't convince me that what they're raising in those feedlots is healthier. Plus, we're helping the environment and being the most natural we can. There's no way that pitting animals up and them standing in their mud and manure up to their neck is the healthiest way to raise these animals. Here, we move these animals around 365. If it's bad weather, we do give them shelter. Like you can see behind me, we have a tree line. Also, if it's extremely cold and windy, we do have a three-sided barn we'll put them in, but we'll also make sure that they have the ability to get out and eat grass while they're doing this. And they're always moving. They never stay in an area for more than a week. To us, that just seems like the best way to handle it. Then they don't turn into mud. They don't overeat. They don't kill the grass. Then their manure doesn't run into the streams. Those sorts of things. You don't have erosion issues. It's just, if you compare this to what some of the other people in my area are doing, and each to their own, they have their own reasons why they're raising their animals the way they are. It just doesn't make sense to me when you can see that you can have these grass pastures that look so beautiful versus having multiple rows and thistle and whatever other weeds that the cows won't eat growing up, and then you've got their manure and they've just shredded the ground so it just looks like you went through with a tiller. There's no grass growing. So what is the idea behind that? And from a business perspective, all of these things also cost us less money. So when you sit down to make a mission statement, you need to think of, what is my business and how do I want to apply this mission statement to my business? So for us, we wanted to have low input costs, which meant that we didn't want to have to feed a bunch of grain, we didn't want to have to feed a bunch of hay, and we didn't want to have to buy equipment to do hay, put our time into doing that. Yes, it does take me time to move my cows. It took me 20 minutes today to set this up. If you were doing hay, if anybody's ever done square bells, I don't have the equipment to lift a round bell, so I'd have to do squares. If anybody's ever put in square bells, they know how much time that takes. You have to mow the grass, then you have to ted the grass, then you have to bale it, then you have to go through and you have to have a wagon and throw it up on there. It consumes a lot of time and energy that you could be putting into focusing on the grass. The cows would rather have the grass. Cows don't ask you to feed them hay. They would rather have the grass if you can give it to them. So why would I not invest my time in something that the cows are going to enjoy and eventually saves me time and money to do so? Yes, it takes a little bit of upfront cost to get your electric fence set up so you can rotate them through, but it's nothing compared to what you would spend if you had to go buy tractors and the baler and the tedder and all the equipment to set up for hay. So that's why we want to focus as much as we can on providing them with grass. Then they can feed themselves. They don't need us every day. I just really have to go out there, I get eyes on them, say, hey, there's my cows, make sure they got water, make sure they got grass, and then you just watch. And after a while, you get really used to it. Like, I'd say this area, probably 4 or 5 days, they'll be done with this, and then we'll get them moved on. After you get used to it for a while, sometimes if you can actually go out of town for a day or two and come back, as long as you know you have the water resources, and if you've got a friend that's your neighbor, you can say, hey, can you mind checking on my cows? Whereas if you have them in a feedlot situation, you need to be giving those animals the inputs that they need, the feed that they need every day. You got to be going through and feeding them multiple times a day, and you've also got to be giving them antibiotics, and you gotta, and I know there's going to be some people that say, I don't do that. Okay, well, I know for a fact that those animals can't be nearly as healthy, because I've never had to deworm any of my cows. I haven't had issues with any sort of sickness, knock on wood. There's always a chance those things could happen. But to me, if you're living outside in a nice clean area, or you're living penned up somewhere where you're in your own waste all the time, which one, as a human perspective, we know which one would get us sick first. So why do we do that to livestock? We do the same thing here when we got pigs. And that's one of the reasons why it took me a while to get sold onto the pigs, is because I used my mission statement to say, okay, I want to help the environment, but also raise animals in a natural way. How can I do that with pigs? Because the only way I'd ever seen pigs raised was to pen them up and leave them in an area and just let them roll in their own manure and mud and muck all the time. And that's the only way that I thought you could raise pigs, because you have to feed them some sort of grain. You can't do them like you can a cow and just put them out on grass. They're a different animal. They don't have the ability to do that. Well, then I started learning, and I researched quite a few different people, and Rob from Dow Family Farms, and there's many more out there. He's one of the experts, I think, in this area as far as pastured pigs, pastured pork. They just showed me that you can do the same thing with pigs as we do with cows. You just have to pick a different environment. You have to make sure that pigs have some sort of shelter so they can get out of the sun, somewhere where they can roll in the mud. And most of the time here, what we like is we have a ton of brush and overgrown areas, so why not put those pigs in that area? That's where they love. They can go through and dig up and try to see if they can find some acorns, hickory nuts, anything like that, all while they're creating an environment that is better for us, because after they're done, we can go through and plant that with a cover crop. And eventually we would like to turn those areas into more pasture so we can have more cows. Again, that's why you need that mission statement. Earlier this year, we were looking at purchasing more cows, and we knew again that we wanted to provide we wanted to provide our animals at a low cost. We didn't want to be into them with a ton of cost, because we don't have the resources to go through and buy a whole cow herd right now. So what did we do? We went through, and we had the bottle babies. Well, we said we'd like to do something a little bit more natural. We had bottle babies last year, and I still have 2 bottle baby steers. They're not in this field. We separated them out to try to get through the grass a little bit quicker this spring. But anyway, my point is, we saw how the bottle babies did on the bottle. They did decent, but their stomach wasn't quite right a lot of the time. You had to watch them a lot more, and it required a lot more time from us. So thinking of how we want to raise animals in the most natural way possible and the healthiest way possible, plus minimalizing our inputs, which also our labor is a part of that. So we decided to get these mama cows. I don't know if they're in the camera shot right now or not, but we got a Holstein and a Jersey nurse cows. They already had calves at their side, and then we have a bottle calf this year already, so we grafted him onto there. So then now they're feeding that calf for us. Yes, it's not technically the most natural way possible, because he could have been left on his mom, but unfortunately, that's just, in the dairy world, that's just not how they're going to do it. So we purchase that calf and we give him a good life on grass, and we're letting him be able to get milk whenever he sees necessary, and that way he can, one, he's going to gain more weight this way, so it helps us, and 2, it also helps us save the time on the labor of going down and feeding him every day, twice a day, for at least 2 months. So that, and it eliminates the cost of the milk replacer. So those are the ways that we use our mission statement to help us decide what direction we want our business to go into. And we also use our mission statement, to help us decide when we get to those tough times, like in the winter when the grass isn't growing and it's rainy and cloudy and it's been snowing and it's just terrible weather. It helps me to look at that mission statement and know where I'm going. I would also say, especially if you have a farm or really any business, take some pictures of your progress so you can see where you started at versus where you're at now. A lot of times in the winter, I would just be looking at pictures of where my bottle babies were, those steers that I have. Now they're over a year old. When they were this tall and they were about 50 pounds and it looked like they were never going to turn into anything. And then now I look at just in that little bit of time how they've grown. It really helped me center myself and get through the winter time, and then also think, what am I going to provide? Yes, I can go to the grocery store and you can buy this meat that has been ground up with 100 different cows in it, and you don't even know where the cow was raised in. Fun fact, did you know that you can take a cow that was raised, just say in Argentina, ship it to the United States if it's still alive? Actually, it doesn't even have to be alive. Ship it to the United States, the carcass of it, and if they bring it in here and they cut it up, they can label it as a product of the United States at the store. So that's why I don't trust the government, and I don't trust the food system to provide me with what I need and to provide my family with the healthy food that they need. So I've decided that I needed to do something about that, and the best way to do that was to take it on full throttle to try to raise our own. I decided that the best way to do that was to grow my own meat. That way I would be able to know exactly what inputs went into it, and I could provide something to my local community. I'm from Southeast Ohio here, Appalachia area. We don't have a ton of money in this area. There's a lot of people that are really struggling. And back when this was settled, this was really a agriculture and whatever industry come in community. It's been a couple different ones. It was logging at first, and then it turned into coal mining, and now as we go into the 21st century, we're trying to figure out what is going to be the economy basis around here. And I truly believe that agriculture needs to be the answer. When you look at where we raise cows, yes, I understand that out west there's just vast open spaces, so that makes a lot of sense. But also here, we're in a rainfall area where we get 40 to, on a really wet year, we might even get 50 inches of rain a year. So we can grow 4 times the grass that they can in, just say, Wyoming or Montana. We can grow 3 or 4 times the amount of grass per acre than what they can grow out there, because they're just not getting the rainfall. And I'm not knocking on those folks. I know they're doing the best they can with what they have. But if you've got premium ground that can grow that, why would you not? When you look at Western Ohio and then you get into Indiana and Illinois, that is premium farmland because the soil is deep and it's very fertile for that. Here, I've got a ton of rock. You can see it in some of my other videos on the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't, by the way. We've got a ton of rock coming out of the ground here, so that makes it a lot harder for people to till up the dirt. But we still have the ingredients there. We still have the soil that is good if you protect it, and we still have the rainfall and the temperatures that are in a great climate to grow. Rarely do we get above 95 here. Usually a 90 is a really hot day here. And then in the wintertime, if it's, I think as cold as we got this winter was like 3 degrees, so it doesn't get super cold, so that helps your animals. You don't have to have, highlands here. You can have regular cattle and they'll do fine on grass. And then in the summertime, those same cows are able to live outside because it's not Texas where it gets 110 degrees. So to me, it only made sense to look at our environment and say, well, why are we not growing more here? Why are we having people ship this in from all over the country and all over the world to provide our food here? So to me, that was something that was really important. I wanted to localize our economy and try to bring things back. I do work for a big corporation, and I've been blessed to do so. They provided a lot with me. I wouldn't have this had they not provided me with a job. But eventually, my goal is I want to be able to raise my family and to have a business here where I can work on my own terms and I don't have to go and bow down to the government or to whatever that corporation says. And I don't know if it is going to get me flagged for bringing this up on YouTube, but with the pandemic and the way that they treated us at my company, they really pushed the limits. Unfortunately, it wasn't too much with my job level, but I'm a supervisor. But the next step above me, they really had to do some things that I was not happy with. I didn't think it was right. I felt like they stripped away a lot of our freedoms, and I don't want to be in that situation anymore. So during that time, that's when I really decided that I needed to take this on full throttle. I needed to, 1, get myself out of debt first, which we're still in the process of doing that, and 2, start learning how to raise animals, and then 3, be able to provide that meat and start that business to our local community, because I believe that these big corporations have sucked the wealth out of our small towns. You used to have the corner stores and the local restaurant and those sorts of things and the local barber, and now they're all chain places that all they do is pay those people a small, usually not even a livable wage, and then they take the profits and they pull it out of that town. That doesn't get invested back into a house on the edge of town where a carpenter is going to get a job, or it doesn't invest in the local basketball team when they need a sponsorship or something like that. So to me, there's many levels on why I want to do this. I want to help my community, I want to help my family, I also want to better my life. I don't want to work. Right now I have to work night shift, 12 hours, 4 days a week. It's not something that I enjoy, but as a father, that's something that I have to do. I need to be able to provide a good family, or excuse me, I need to be able to provide a good living for my family. So right now that's the way we're going, and then I'm going to put in all my time and effort into this and see if I can get this up and running, and hopefully eventually one day I can keep expanding once people see that we're taking care of ground and we're helping it. There's a ton of farmland available in this area. If you've ever heard of Greg Judy, he had a similar situation out there in Missouri where it's not row crop area. Hi, sweetie. Hi. This is our stubborn cow. She doesn't always like to move as much. Well, you're still a good girl, aren't you? You're raising us up some calves. So back to my point, Greg Judy, he lives in an area that's very similar to ours as far as similar climate, similar economic situation, where a lot of the small farms are failing and then they're just going by the wayside, and they're getting overrun by bigger corporations. And I want to be the person that helps fight against that. I want to be able to take land that nobody else wants and do something with it. The population in my area just keeps going down and down. People are leaving because there's no jobs, there's no businesses. And I believe that, hi, are you gonna lick me? I believe that everybody has a purpose in life, and a husband and father has always been one of my purposes, but I also think that helping to rebuild my community, it's someplace I really care about. It's where I want to live the rest of my life. I don't really have any desires to move anywhere else. I enjoy my life here. I do wish that I could see more people have opportunities here. I've had a lot of friends that after they graduated, they just needed to move away because there was nothing here. So yes, it seems simple, but if we start at a small scale, I plan on taking my locally raised animals to a butcher that is local, paying that butcher to process my animals, and then if I can provide food to that local community, and then as I'm building my farm, or in my private life, when we decide to spend money, we're going to spend money in our local community at places that aren't chains, that those business owners can turn around and use that money to help better this community. I think that we can build these things back up, and that's really what my mission statement is all about. And I would challenge you, if you're starting a farm, or if you have a farm and you're struggling with your profits, you're struggling to make those decisions on, hey, is this the right animal to get, or how should we do this? Sit down, take out that pen and paper, and if you can't do this is really one of the first steps of having a business, is you need to be able to make a mission statement and say, this is what my business stands for. If you can't do that, then what are you in business for? As soon as something popular happens, right now regenerative ag is popular, and if in 10 years when something else comes along, then you'll just be chasing that. And it'll be the same thing with any business that you have. So even if you're not in the farming world, if you have another business that you're looking at, please make a mission statement. I believe it's like a moral compass, basically. If you're living your life and you don't have any morals, as soon as something becomes popular, you're going to think that's the right thing to do, but then as soon as it falls out of favor, you're going to just switch your morals to something different. So have something that keeps you grounded and that helps you make those tough decisions in life. And that's what we use our mission statement for, not only for our business, but we also have very similar morals as far as how we want to raise our children and how we want to live our lives. So eventually that's what we're trying to get to. We have our cows, we have some sheep, we have chickens, we have pigs out here. So we have quite a few different animals here. And one thing that I quickly realized, especially with the amount of land that I'm able to afford, I'm not going to be able to make a living just on cows or just on chickens. I'm going to have 5, 6, 7 different ways of making money. Hopefully YouTube becomes one of those one day. I'm putting in a lot of effort into this. Hopefully my videos are getting a little bit better. I'm not an expert editor. I'm not an expert at putting up fancy graphics or anything like that. I'm just a guy that has what I believe to be some pretty damn good ideas, and I want to put those out there for people to try to see them. Um, so between YouTube and selling eggs and hopefully getting into selling some lambs and stuff, and raising our own beef, and then we have our pork products. Hopefully I'm able to diversify enough that I can have 4 or 5 different sources of income there, and also getting out of debt so I'm not required to have all these monthly payments all the time. And then I believe that eventually our dreams one day of being able to have this be our farm, be our main source of income, be there for my kids, when they need something for me. I'm not busy always off at work working night shift or working whatever crazy shift, and my boss is more important to me than what my kids are. I don't want to live that life. I don't think that's why. My ancestors are from Germany, and they came over in the 1880s, so we're clear they weren't World War II type Germans. They were a little bit before that. But I don't believe that those people took the risk that they did to pack up their whole lives for me to come over here and to work my entire life to make somebody else rich. We don't need huge financial gains. It's not why we're doing this, but I believe the financial freedom to be able to decide what we want to do with our life and to make a positive impact in our community and not just be a cog in a machine. That's the main thing that I'm trying to get across to you here. That's our mission statement. Is I don't think that's why my family came to the United States, and I don't think that's what a lot of folks today are wanting to do. But unfortunately, they've been painted into a box with their financial situations, with their family situations, and the government and schooling telling them, hey, you need to go to school, get all these loans. Hopefully one day you'll be able to buy a house, but in the meantime, you got to make sure you have these jobs all the time where we're not going to pay you what you really need. I think that's, I think the older I get, the more I see the wisdom in the old guys that didn't trust anybody. Not that I don't trust my community. I don't trust any of these large corporations or large government entities. I think that they all have a hidden agenda, and it's to protect themselves. So I think it's time that small town America started looking out for themselves and making strides to try to bring back the wealth to our communities and to be able to provide for ourselves and not have to look to these to the government or to the large businesses to help us out. Anyway, I believe I pretty much got it through what my mission was with this video. I think I got the mission statement across there, explained it pretty well to you. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, or you can also email me. My email is on my YouTube channel there. I really do appreciate everybody taking the time to watch these videos. It's a dream for me to be able to do this. Even as it's not a full-time job, it's still a dream to me to be able to sit down and make videos and have my animals and be out here on the farm. So I really appreciate everybody taking the time to watch these. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out tremendously when you do so. And as always, thanks for taking your time to watch these videos.